topics. So we can skip this one. Also management by concepts we discussed the last time. And I would like to focus on the team roles, because later on we are making a personality test, and these are the team roles. So that is a little bit different. So, for example, we in a company, maybe we merge some teams, or we have to create a new team. For example, a digitalization team and new social media team, etc., etc. And therefore, a human resource development should also be in the team, not working in the team, but have to be responsible in choosing the right people. So, for example, you say the team should have 5 persons, and these 5 individuals should have one team leader. And the team leader should be working together with the human resource developer, manager, and then the human resource developer could say, okay, with this creative work, we need different kind of team roles inside the team. That means each of them should have work related to marketing, so some working experience with the marketing, with, for example, graphic designer, and also maybe specialists. These are the main, I would say, core competences which the people bring with them. This is not our real responsibility. This could be also made from the team leader during the recruiting process. But what our main focus will be to see behind the factual knowledge. That means what are or how are the people are working. And they are not really on good or bad behavior. They are not on right and wrong. There's only on right for the concept, right for this specific task, for this specific team. For example, we have 3 different kind of categories: action-orientated roles, through-orientated roles, and people-orientated roles. And this makes a huge difference when it comes to teams, because if you have action-orientated roles, everyone is starting right into the work. And this could lead to a lot of discussion. And also, when we have too many of thought-orientated roles, nobody will go to action, because they thought about regulations, about is this design okay, and also people-orientated roles. You need someone who is more the team worker, who flatten the curve when it comes to arguing, etc. And Belbin has here a really good overview of 9 different kind of team roles. And each of these team role has his own core competences, and in my opinion, it's really necessary that a team has one action-orientated, one thought-orientated, and one people-orientated role. And this people-orientated role could also be fulfilled from the team leader, for example, and then you can see what are here the next 2 categories. For example, you need a lot of specialists, but not all specialists. So a specialist could also be an implementer, on completer, and finisher. And when you're searching about Belbin, you could also use this link. You could find here also some questionnaires where you can use it in the recruiting process, so that you get a feedback. How is this person according to the Belbin team role base? And then in the recruiting process, you have the specialists, the actual experience, what the person brings with it, and also the team roles. So you have 2 different kinds where you can make a decision. And this is not a stomach decision, this is an analytical approach, what is needed nowadays. We also talked in the last live session about the generations. And it's necessary that we, as a human resource manager, that we know the difference about the generations, because nowadays there is also a new generation. They really don't like working on I would say, regular basis. So since the COVID-19 crisis, everyone, or nearly all of them, like to be working at home. But what means working at home for Generation Y, for example, when they have kids, when there are some kids with school, etc.? What's with illness, when the kids are ill? What do you do in this certain type? And also with baby boomers and Generation X, because nowadays we have to work longer and longer. So, for example, in Austria and Germany and in Switzerland, males have to work till 65, 67, and females nowadays from 60. Also, here's the age restriction a little bit above. So, from 60 to 65 nowadays because of the equalization. So, as you can see, we have to deal a lot of with people from the baby boomer generation and also with the Generation X. And this is really a challenge when it comes to digitalization and also to new concepts. Because often the Generation X says, I'm not really want to do more, new things, because in 5 years I'm going to into retirement and I'm not open for some new things. And this is completely understandable. This is also completely okay in the meaning of empathy. That means that you understand this person has worked 40 years plus, and now they are not really want to dig into a new job field requirement, etc. Because the digitalization means that you have to deal with new things each and each day. And maybe also the capacity, the working engagement isn't the same as for 20 years in the Generation X. And therefore, it's necessary that we have a lot of empathy when it comes to the human resource management process. That's not easy to get all of the different kind of generations engaged to our topic. And of course, digitalization and human resource is our favorite topic. That's why we are here, and that's why we want to start it. So let's see. The next, where's mouse? Here we go. Also, the last time we talked about the organizational culture. And culture is such a buzzword for me, because every time I had a contract with a new company and it goes to human resource or with some IT projects, I also investigated the culture and observed it. And this is so funny to see, because often the senior managers and the CEO says, we have such a good culture, we have free coffee, there are a lot of fruits each Monday which you can get for free, etc., etc. But culture for the employees is something completely different. And culture, what the CEO and the company think it is, maybe is not in the right way implemented than it really is. And when you talk later on in the breaks, for example, with the employees, you could see the real culture. And then you can see also where the main problems are. And just to give you a short overview about organizational culture. So often there are a lot of symbols for example, maybe on the clothing. So when they have working clothes on, for example, they have the managers have another color, or for example, the managers have some buttons on it, etc. Symbols. Or working descriptions. So that means a senior manager has some three digits in front of their in front of their name, for example, that indicates that he is longer as the next hierarchy step, etc. These are similar, is such an important thing for such companies. And also values, action scope, everything what you know. Gender and diversity, I think it's also a nice and good to see how the company is working. Nowadays, everyone says that gender and diversity is really, really important, and how they live it and how they fulfill it is completely another topic. So, what does it really mean to be gender equality and also have a good diversity strategy? what does it mean in the recruiting process? How could we, as a human resource, give our best when it comes to this topic? So just let me see here. Which research it's called. So, for example, if you want to hire someone from which has working experience in gender studies, what does it mean for the company if you have someone who fulfills these tasks? And also, what does it mean diversity, or to follow a strategy according to a diversity strategy? A good quick example, which I also accompanied in the IT process, in one of my last projects, was the hiring process. And I could support here also from the HR topic and also from the IT topic. This is why I see a lot of different projects, and it was really, really good implemented, because here the strategy was that the recruiting process would be as neutral as possible. That means the applicants have to fulfill here a survey and form, put in the working experience, the academic researches and academic knowledge, and that's it. No gender, no photo, no name, no age, nothing. Just the hard facts. Then the HR department checked the hard facts. After that, the second interviews will be started. So this was the first filter. Have the people enough background knowledge and have the working experience in the field? If so, then they are in the second field. And this could be fulfilled by a filter which could be undertaken by a program, but be aware, not each or not each, yeah, I would say, hard fact could be proved by by an AI or by such a filter project or a program. So it's necessary that also a human will take a closer view about this filtering process. But the first step could be done by a program. And then in the second, what I would say, also the people are not seeing, they have, for example, a first call out the camera, the check motivation. Of course, get here, but also this undertaking another way. For example, with an easy, just cheap software, you could neutralize and change the speech and the voice from the participant. That means you have no clue is a woman, is it a female or a man. And this is what also in gender identity strategy means, that the recruiting process could be as objective, as neutral as possible. So then, with the manager and the HR are in the second round with the participants. Here, working package and project which should be fulfilled in the next 2 days. And afterwards, the person should present it. And this is like maybe also like only audio and with some presentation or with some visual aspect. And the last round should only be to 2 to 5 participants. And this is an objective, really, really clear, really, really gender and diversity sensitive way how you can hire people according to this topic. And I think it's a fair and really good approach, because then not the gender is you're not deciding according to gender about the ethnical background of the people and also about the age, because it doesn't matter. What matters nowadays is what brings the people or the person with it. And also you're saying you need 20 years plus experience. It's not a good way, because then of course you need someone above 30 or 40. But nowadays in the IT to programming, and every company nowadays need a good IT department, needs a marketing department. So the kids nowadays start with TikTok from 10 to 11, for example. They have a lot of social media experience. And also when they have their own TikToks, for example, just take a closer look in your environment. I'm sure you know someone who is on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, etc., and has a lot of followers, because they maybe the person has a hobby, and this hobby, maybe they reproduce some movies, maybe they're producing some um, something craft, something creative, and they have a lot of followers. And this could be also um, yeah, the new thing in the recruiting process. So a lot of talking. You see, I'm really engaged to this topic: organizational culture, hiring process, much potential here in it. So now, this was a quick or not so quick background from the last sessions, so that we have all the same knowledge now. And I would like to start now with the management diagnostic. What do we want to know and measure in human resource development? And I think, and this is why, or maybe the reason I worked a few years in a financial department, in the financial and also IT responsibility, we have to have a lot of key figures. And this is also necessary in the human resource department. We need the fluctuation numbers. That means when are the people leaving, how long did they stay in the company, what were the reasons. This could be quantified. You have three: how long did the people stay before they quit, what were the reasons, and maybe how old were they. So maybe the newer generation are a little bit more easy to quit the job when there are some problems, when there are no new job opportunities. Maybe also the family building thing could be a thing. You can see there are a new topics, and this could be a good feedback also for the CEO for a new strategy. And this is why it's necessary that we have management diagnostic. But also with diagnostic, I mean, you have to create here some I would say a strategy that you develop your own personnel, your own employees to managers and leaders, because we have a democratical unbalance. That means we have a generation with a lot of people going to retirement in the next 5 years, for example. And we have not so many youngsters which have the knowledge and also they're willing to perform as much as one full-time equivalent in the company. So a full-time equivalent means 40 hours on a regular basis. And when you have two part-time employees, that will be one full-time equivalent. So therefore, you have to calculate what do we need, and also we have a strategy how you can develop these people inside the company so that they can fulfill the task from the retirement in the next 5 years. So one of the things are the potentials. Skills are relevant to the professional environment. And always be or always have in mind there are people who only want to work 9 to 5. But there are also people who want to make some careers, some success. And this could be a potential. Potential means that you can see, the person has engagement to the topic. They want to fulfill something. And also competences. Development and acquisitions. That means, can you see all the competences which an employee brings with it? I often recognized that the human resource department haven't got any tool to all the what an I worked as a financial and technical senior manager, and I'm of course competence for these certain specific fields. But I also have, besides the IT, an electronical mastercraft, and this means I also have here competences. I also have language competences, which maybe are used in the company. So maybe there are other competences what you are not really know from your employees, but they can be handy when it comes to next steps, next strategy. Just think of the language competences. So, for example, if you have a manager who can speak in Spanish and also in Italian, but they are in an office, in-house office job, and they are not really exposed to some other countries. But then the company maybe has to make here some audits, or they want to make the next approach to be in Italian areas, etc. Then you can use this person, this employee, to sustain inside the company, and also maybe this person would like to develop also in another area, and therefore competences are really, really important. And this is one of the responsibilities of the human resource, that the human resource knows what is going on in the company. And this could be done with a simple Excel spreadsheet. And how you could get these competences, of course, we are making each year some feedback appointments. This is also a leadership thing, and also is necessary or will be done by the human resource. And there you can check the competences. So, for example, do you have some hobbies, and maybe there are some technical hobbies, some creative hobbies, which maybe could be used also later on. But competences in language, in manufacturing, etc. Yeah, and the performance also will be in an annual feedback, could be also very, very clear determined, because in the maybe in the start of 2022, you have here an annual meeting with your manager, and you say, in the next 6 months, I would like to increase my performance by 5%, and at the end of the year, I would like to have 8% more clients than at the point of today. Then you have 2 milestones, and you can measure these milestones if the performance going well or not. And of course, like in the COVID-19 crisis, all of the performance will be not really trustworthy. But otherwise, when you're not setting here some milestones and some performance indicators, how you could measure it? You should measure it also in a way that you could say employee 1 has performed according to them very well. Not each person should have the same goals. You always have to think about the person, what brings it with them, how could they perform, and is this as a target and goal, what is easy to reach or it's hard to reach. And then you could measure here the competences and also the performance. Really, really necessary when it comes to annual meetings, the performance, competences, and potentials. And this is also necessary when it comes to, I would say, to the human resource, that we support the managers and the senior managers here in the company. Of course, the managers are then making the annual meetings, but we are sustain or help them with the right papers, with the right instruments, etc. So, inter and extra review, really, really necessary when it comes to the human resource big picture, inside and outside. In addition to knowledge and skills, the person must also do the job well. The interior view is management and expertise, and the exterior is the intrinsic motivators and the resilient. Resilient means that what do you bring with you when it is really a stressful week or a month, or when it comes to finishing a project, a milestone, etc. How could you be more resilient? And what are the things what you're doing to not burn out? And also the intrinsic motivators. What is it what you keep doing and pushing it to the next level? And of course, it could be money. It could be the next career step. It could be to be a little bit more seen in the company. But what is it? And to take a closer look to these intrinsic motivators gives you also a good insight view how this person ticks and works. And therefore, this is necessary that you have here also a plan how you could develop the certain kind of employees, interior and exterior view. So, and the next slide before we make a short break. Here we have example of soft skills. So soft skills are, I would say, one of the things which should be checked when it comes to an interview, but also when it comes to annual feedback, because you can see, is some person really developed in a developing process. Often empathy, or managers have a lack of empathy. They really can't understand why a certain employee does certain things, and only thinks you have to do it because I have to say it. I don't care if your child is ill, if you are in a divorce, etc. Just do your shit. And example of soft skills could be to make here feedback, and that the person or the manager reflect on themselves. For example, how would I rate my sensitivity in my management work on a daily basis? Prepare for the opposite side, empathic and openness. How would you judge yourself? And then the person gives, for example, I would assess myself to openness to 1 to 5. 5 is the highest level, to 3. I'm really empathic. I give me a 4 from 5, for example. And then use a human resource manager say, okay, it's interesting. I found feedback from your team members that in the last decision from where we made the holidays, you won't be very empathetic, and this is not what my imagination from this topic is to use self-assessment. And now you have here, for example, a little glitch. And now what you can do is, okay, what can we do that we increase the empathetic to the next level? What can we do, or what can you do in a really specific point in the next few months that the empathetic level starts from goes from 3 or 4 to 4.5, for example. And also the cooperation benefits from the experience of others, create connectedness. So this is also an important point. How could we benefit from the experience from others? That means, could we develop here something that that a manager and senior manager could really use here, the views and the knowledge from the teammates? Persuasion. It's not easy because a manager has also to be open and empathetic, but also to be very strict and persuasive when it comes to argumentation. And therefore, you see, it's not so easy as it looks like when it comes to the soft skill review. So determination is also a point which I always cover when it comes to annual feedbacks. And we had in the company 50 employees. And I also had to made a lot of annual feedback meetings, and the determination is because I like to investigate and observe how people and teams make decisions, as I told you before. And determination means how can you stick on a specific way, but when it is worth to quit. And this is important. You have to be determined when it comes to your strategy, but sometimes it's necessary that you quit. And what are these scenarios? What are the scenario when you're changing your mind? And changing your mind is something, I would say, nowadays, what is necessary to adapt to situations, to circumstances, and also to market situations. And when changing your mind, how do you do it? Is it just a stomach feeling? Is it while you talked with your wife or with your man, etc.? Is it while you talked with other senior managers, or is it why you have an analytical research, and according to the hard facts, you're not in the right way. We have to adapt to the situation. So determinations, on the other hand, be a little bit more flexible and when to know to quit. Example of soft skills. So now we have fulfilled the first hour. I would say it's necessary that we make a short break from 5 minutes. So I encourage you and invite you to stand up, let a little bit more fresh air into the room so that we can start in the next 50 minutes. Then after the break to personality tests in the human resource development. See you in 5 minutes.